Living and Loving in the Age of AIDS. A gift. Images selected by the author to accompany the story his memoir tells. A frank, tender, bright and dancing love letter of a book. Dedicated to our many friends who died of AIDS and to those many others who continue to survive HIV infection. John Frost and Elizabeth Gibson, my mum and dad, get married 10th of March 1947. Their relationship flourished. I see how love was for my parents. I learned I could trust love. Now, a happy young family, we lived for the first 8 years of my life under the hot tropical sun in the Philippines. I was born in April 1952 and my brother Clive in May 1953. Anyone want to guess which of these two brothers will be gay? Surely not the taller one, who is already looking rather camp. A family, soon to be separated. The start of an ever-deepening love of sacred music. The choir boy and his brother. Schoolboy sex and Doctor Who? School days soon to be over. Lodging with Christopher and Pat Pilkington and the birth of their Bristol Cancer Care Centre. My first job at Frost & Reed's Bruton Street Gallery in London's Mayfair. Hitting the hippie trail. First stop, Bali, 1973. A blessing from Kumari Devi, Kathmandu's living goddess. The high valley of Sonamarg, the meadow of gold, Kashmir. The inland lakes of Bandi-e-Amir, central Afghanistan. Mannheim Hauptbahnhof and G.I. Joe who started the Thor. Supermodel Tom Wilson, on whose arm I danced out of the closet in 1974. Hanging out with Tom's model friends, Jerry Hall and Grace Jones. Paris, 1974. Back to London, now out and proud. At home with Playboy Supremo and his bunny. First class mail, delivered to Studio 54. My design mentor, Mary Fox Linton. Chased by David Hicks around the drawing room of Britwell House. After a demanding climb, I sit on the pinnacle of the Great Pyramid. Midnight Cowboy. John Schlesinger comes shopping for a carpet and leaves with more than he bargained for. Christopher Isherwood and Don Bacardi. Regular house guests at Victoria Road. Johnny Gallagher, the #1 choice of NYC's social X-rays. When I grow up, I want to be a notorious homosexual. We met in 1977. Love united us a year later. My new love, Jeremy Norman's Embassy Club. Michael Fish and Amanda Lear at the launch. Every night is a crazy party at the Embassy Club. Party time continues at the Embassy Club. End of a tough night behind the Embassy Club bar. Needsor at high tide. Our view across the Solent. Alan Torby, increasingly reliant on the kindness of friends. An exhibition of old master paintings and modern furniture. Heaven. Ultra Disco. Grace Jones at Heaven. We meet again, 1980. thousands of members of our queer family come to party at heaven. Roman Games by artist Oliver Frey. Heaven Games. Villa Buzzer, Kilifi, Kenya. Diana Delamere, implicated in the murder of her lover, Joss Errol. The Old Cuban Shack, Key West, Florida. Boys on Boats, Happy Key West Life. Which of us could have guessed the horror that was soon to follow? Calm before the terrible storm. Rare cancer seen in 41 homosexuals. Outbreak occurs among men in New York and California. 8 died inside 2 years. Doctors in New York and California have diagnosed amongst homosexual men 41 cases of a rare and often rapidly fatal form of cancer. 8 of the victims died less than 24 months after the diagnosis was made. The New York Times, 3rd of July, 1981. Despite the growing threat, our celebration of gay liberation continued. Far Island Pines. Polaroids by Tom Bianchi. Semen Kit. When you dock, use condoms and lube. Gay men fighting AIDS. Gay-related immunodeficiency, GRID. AIDS, acquired immune deficiency syndrome. AIDS, the killing bite of love. AIDS is the wrath of God, says Vicar, the Sun. Ex-ballet boss is victim 53. A former boss of a world-famous ballet company was named last night as the 53rd AIDS victim to die in Britain. Promoting my new design business. Derek Frost Associates, 1983. Another new business. Pasta. The start of our love affair with Southern Africa. Swaziland. Homophobia, gossip, shame, bigotry, fear and ignorance. HIV is a virus. It has no race, gender or sexuality. Discriminating against those living with HIV can stop people, including friends and family, from testing, talking about their HIV status, or getting the treatment that they might need, all of which can lead to more HIV infections. Testing, talking, and treatment help prevent new infections. Reject prejudice to build a healthier community. Fear starts to enter our lives. 1,112 deaths and counting. Larry Kramer's passionate 1983 call to arms, in which he raged, "Unless we fight for our lives, we will die." The compassion of Mother Teresa on the AIDS epidemic. It's a just retribution for improper sexual misconduct. We Sell Heaven to Richard Branson's Virgin Group, 1984. Tim Romanello, an NYC-based designer, our first close friend to die from AIDS, 1984. An early DFA design project with Gogglehead by Elizabeth Frink. The Tiger Chest, commissioned by Princess Yang Chen of Sikkim. 20,000 are infected, and it's getting worse. Britain, threatened by gay virus plague. The killer AIDS virus is now spreading at the rate of about 100 cases a day in London alone. Antique galleries, the furniture cave. The dear old Cuban shack. How many will lose their young lives to AIDS? The garden at Needsaw, as it once was. Power station, 533 Kings Road, London. Safe sex. Use condom while having unsafe sex. Use condom while intercourse. The house that heaven built. Nick Eden, son of the UK Prime Minister Anthony Eden. Our first British friend to die of AIDS, 1985. Rock Hudson also died of AIDS in 1985, and about whom his actress friend Elizabeth Taylor said, "It's bad enough that people are dying of AIDS, but no one should die of ignorance." Heath and Home. Sir Edward Heath required a decorator with an understanding of both his way of living and his exquisite Queen Anne house in Salisbury. Derek Frost was an inspired choice. Arundel's The Close, Salisbury. Michel Foucault, philosopher, dies of AIDS. We are young and in the full flush of life. Despite the darkening clouds, our party continues, perhaps even intensifies. When time seems short, you don't waste it. Cape Town, for us, a future home. Angelo Dongia, designer, dies of AIDS. The Normal Heart, by Larry Kramer. Perry Ellis, designer, dies of AIDS. An exhibition of my furniture at Leighton House, London. London Lighthouse, a centre for people facing the challenge of HIV and AIDS. Often unannounced, Princess Diana would become a regular visitor. AIDSgate. Ronald Reagan, US President, 1981 to 1989. Complicit in controlled genocide through negligence. Gay Men's Health Crisis, NYC fundraiser. A benefit to fight AIDS. Michael Taylor, designer, dies of AIDS. AIDS. Don't die of ignorance. This leaflet is being sent to every household in the country to inform everyone about AIDS in order to help stop the spread of this serious disease. It deals with matters of health and sex that may be disturbing. Please make sure that everyone in your household who may need this information sees this leaflet. Dire warnings from the UK government, 1986. Derek Frost Associates, residential and commercial interiors. Alvin Ailey, dancer and choreographer, dies of AIDS. Crusade, founded in 1986. Jeremy was a founder of the charity and its first chairman. 2 years later, Princess Diana opened the Kobler Centre, funded in part by Crusade, using funds donated by Freddie Kobler. ACT UP, AIDS Coalition to Unleash Power, formed NYC 1987. AIDS, where is your rage? ACT UP. Silence equals death. The horror that is AIDS. Jeremy at 40, 1987. Willie Smith, designer, dies of AIDS. Scrap Section 28. Few recent British laws were more controversial and more reviled than Section 28 of the Local Government Act 1988. In the late 80s, the gay and lesbian people of the UK were loudly demanding equality, much to the chagrin of traditionalists. Section 28 was the Conservative government's response. The UK Prime Minister Margaret Thatcher's answer to those who believed they have an inalienable right to be gay. Lesbians stormed the BBC to protest about it. 20,000 Mancunians took to the city streets to march against it, headed by Ian McKellen and Michael Cashman. It inspired songs by Boy George, the birth of Stonewall UK in 1989, and the 2009 apology from a subsequent UK Prime Minister, David Cameron. The law was finally repealed in 2003. Hidden behind protecting walls, our beloved London house, once empty, will fill. Our London garden through the year. December the 1st, World AIDS Day. First celebrated in 1988. Ignorance and fear are deadly partners in the fight against AIDS. Amen to that, say the fabulous Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence. The horrific Marchioness tragedy on the River Thames that killed 51 people. How lucky we were not to have been free to accept Antonio Vasconcellos' invitation. Our friend, Luis Huerta, was the first to be dragged from the river. We were called to identify his body. The gays move into Miami South Beach with their fancy colours. Bruce Chatwin, author, and Steve Rubell of Studio 54 fame both die of AIDS. Read my lips. Act up kissing. Kissing doesn't kill. Fight back. Act up. Fight AIDS. Embargo. Club of many colours. In an old bottling plant, a forbidding speakeasy door now leads into a cosy explosion of colour. Caroline Clifton Mogg applauds the best designed nightclub of the year. The government has blood on its hands, one AIDS death every half hour. Stonewall 1969, riot. AIDS crisis 1989, riot. The queer community and their supporters are forced to fight, riot, and demonstrate to secure US government attention and funding to expedite the development of effective medication. Robert Mapplethorpe, artist, dies of AIDS. British Interior Design Exhibition, 1989. Collage by William Pounds. Images courtesy Fleur Rosdale. Silence equals death, 1989. Rage, still burning, 1991. Self-portraits by artist David Wojnarowicz. About AIDS, we can no longer be silent. He dies of AIDS in 1992. Act Up protest. The extent of AIDS amongst teenagers is going to be the next crisis. Cardinal O'Connor won't teach safe sex. Stop the church. Act up. Massive protest. Our friend Willie Alleman dies of AIDS. Golden days. But for how much longer? The imminent 1990 death of HIV/AIDS activist David Kirby from AIDS. Photo, Therese Ferrare. I have AIDS. Please hug me. I can't make you sick. Washington, D.C., August the 2nd, 1983. I came here today to ask that this nation, with all its resources and compassion, not let my epitaph read, "He died of red tape." Roger Gale Leon. The Names Project AIDS Memorial Quilt, now the largest piece of community art in the world, and currently made up of 94,000 panels, on each of which a single name lost to AIDS is stitched. Ian Charlson, actor, dies of AIDS. S.Y. Philandra, a thrilling design project soon to fly across the world's oceans. Keith Haring, artist, dies of AIDS. Jeremy and our dear friend Connell Walsh test HIV positive in May 1991, a time when there is no effective medication to prevent death from AIDS. The return of spring restores our courage and draws us back to life and colour. Spiritual sanctuaries and old stone give us comfort. We turn to books for guidance. Amongst them, Love, Medicine and Miracles by Bernie Siegel, The Road Less Travelled by M. Scott Peck, AIDS, A Guide to Survival by Peter Tatchell, You Can Heal Your Life by Louise Hay. Brad Davis, actor, and Freddie Mercury singer, die of AIDS. Our friend Donald Brown dies of AIDS. Awakening the Spine by Vanda Scaravelli. Yoga enters my life. AIDS, a time bomb waiting in the wings, a strong fear that must be mastered. Tina Chow, model. Julian Hosking, dancer. Anthony Hopkins, actor. All three die of AIDS. Our friend Bob Perkins dies of AIDS. The Salmon River, Idaho. Borrowed Time, an AIDS memoir. Paul Manette, author and AIDS activist, and his lawyer husband, Roger Horwitz, both die of AIDS. Dr. Anthony Fauci, right, director of the U.S. National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Diseases, publicly called a murderer by Larry Kramer, left, co-founder of the Gay Men's Health Crisis and ACT UP, for delaying the arrival of effective AIDS medication, and about whom the former was to admit many years later. There is no question in my mind that Larry helped to advance medicine in the US. And from the New York Times, 18/2/21, the story about AIDS is not merely a slaughter. With the rise of the AIDS activist movement, it becomes a battle. Denham Elliott, actor. Rudolf Nureyev, dancer. Both die of AIDS. Our friend Wilf Davenport dies of AIDS, 1993. Paul Jabara, performer, and Arthur Ashe, tennis player, both die of AIDS. Our friend George DeCipio dies of AIDS, 1993. Lee Bowery, artist, dies of AIDS. Our life on the Solent continues as our friends continue to die. Jamie Burks dies of AIDS. Derek Jarman, artist, dies of AIDS. Our Key West life continues as our friends continue to die. Jeffrey Roberts dies of AIDS. Asian wisdom enriches my thinking. Krishnamurti to himself, his last journal. The Feeling Buddha by David Brazier. The Heart of Yoga by T.K.V. Desikachar. And the Yoga Aphorisms of Patanjali, translated with a commentary by Swami Prabhavananda and Christopher Isherwood. One-off commissioned pieces I designed and had made. I develop a love for contemporary dance. Gay friendly offices to let, and Soho Athletic Club soon to arrive. Building on the Pink Pound, London's first gay office block is opening next month in Covent Garden. Anthony Keith, Charles Hope Johnson, David Levy. More and more of our young friends die of AIDS. Connell Walsh won't live to see another summer. Dear friends both similarly stricken. The challenges of long-term HIV infection starting to show. Dursley McLinden, actor, and Randy Schultz, journalist and author, both die of AIDS. In 1994, AIDS becomes the leading cause of death for all Americans aged between 25 and 44. Soho Athletic Club, January 1995. A new gym, a new year, and a new body. Soho Athletic Club throws open its doors in October to welcome members and friends, old and new. Other responsibilities assume greater importance. The time has come for me to close my design business. January 1995. The creative industries continue to be decimated by loss. Gervais Jackson Stops, the devoted classicist, and his lover Ian Kirby, the landscape designer, both die of AIDS. Dear friends, Jeff Cochran and David Elliott both die of AIDS. Connell, one of our dearest friends, dies of AIDS in February 1995. His death is one of our darkest moments and occurs at a time when Jay's immune defences are tumbling. Tom Wilson, on whose arm I danced so happily out of the closet in 1974, an esteemed artist, he dies of AIDS in 1995. New life arriving in our family, February 1996, at a time when we've become so used to death, heightens the great happiness we feel. We feel blessed that Jay is alive, that he and Tom can now know each other. 1996. Finally, the arrival of effective triple combination antiretroviral treatment. And for those who can access this, the dying largely stops. So effective is this combination medication that some describe their use as the Lazarus effect, whereby even some of those battling late-stage HIV infection and AIDS rise from their deathbeds and become well again. There is no limit to our feelings of gratitude and relief. Time magazine, Man of the Year, January 1997. Dr. David Ho, physician and virologist, has been engaged in HIV/AIDS research since the start of the pandemic and is particularly celebrated for his lead work advancing the development of effective triple combination antiretroviral treatment. He has received numerous honours and awards for his many scientific accomplishments. 1947 to 1997. 50 golden years. Jay's 50th Jungle Party. A more intimate celebration on board sailing yacht Philandra. Despite the arrival of effective triple combination medication, Some of our friends, already too sick to benefit, will die. John McLaren, Ian Simons, Nigel Hart. The pristine Galapagos Islands. New lives arrive. A trip to Baltimore with the super rich kids. The only time we've ever flown non-commercial. For Jay, a life-saving consultation with Dr. Robert Redfield and Dr. Robert Gallo, co-founders of the Institute of Human Virology. The development of our building on Clapham High Street and the arrival of Soho Gym's fourth gym. So fit, so friendly, Soho Gyms. Care for us and accept us. We are all human beings. We are normal. We have hands. We have feet. We can walk. We can talk. We have needs just like everyone else. Don't be afraid of us. We are all the same. From Nkosi Johnson, child activist, born HIV positive, who died of AIDS aged 12. And from Nelson Mandela, Nkosi was an icon of the struggle for life. Inspired by the images of photographer Gideon Mendel, our focus shifts to Africa. I must care for my grandchildren, their parents, my children, all died of AIDS. The love of a wife for her dying husband. AIDS stigma. A period of reflection at Sammy Ling Tibetan Centre in Dumfries, Scotland. Oskar Schindler, the German industrialist and member of the Nazi Party, who is credited with saving the lives of 1,200 Jews during the Holocaust, and whose story inspired the novel by Thomas Keneally and the film by Steven Spielberg, and which inspired both the name of our charity and our ambition to save as many HIV-positive lives. AIDS Arc. AIDS Arc. Our great adventure starts. One of our last visits to the old Cuban shack. Too much departed laughter. His health, challenged by years of HIV infection, the photographer Herb Ritz dies in 2002, aged 50. Dr. Jenny Pitts, now Zyneca. Abagunde is our first AIDS Arc beneficiary. He will survive. His health will be restored. Bonga is our second AIDS Arc beneficiary. For him, we arrived too late, and sadly he died. 2002. Darling Dad and Mum, still with us, but not for much longer. Us, the same year, with renewed hope for a longer future together. For 76p a day, £280 per annum, 100% of your money will be keeping a person known to us alive. Our treasured first poster girl and beneficiary Nonkosi, with her mum on the day we met in 2002, and a year later with friend Andrew. Christopher Isherwood and Don Bacardi, John Schlesinger and Michael Childers, two iconic couples, all acclaimed artists, who have informed and enriched my life. Our first AIDS Arc field trip to Lesotho, 2003. King Letsie III, Maud Bio-Canyo, Tri-Farm Pharmacies, Dr. Mapu Ramatlapeng, subsequently to become the Kingdom's Minister of Health and Social Welfare, and the birth of Lesotho's first ARV treatment centre. My early work. AIDS Arc's first visit to India, 2004. Arif Jafar and Shivananda Khan, who started the Naz Foundation, and their campaign to act up against homophobia. Delhi. Early Morning with Rita Devi of the ILA Trust, and later at Udan Plus. Love Life Society, LLS, where we found our first AIDS-ARC Indian beneficiary. Elizabeth and Siddhartha Vatsayan, AIDS Awareness Group. Barossa, an HIV, AIDS and Sexual Health Trust. AIDS Ward, King George's Hospital, Lucknow. Dr. Alaska Deshpande, HIV AIDS Consultant, JJ Hospital, Bombay. Ashok Rao Kavi, Humpsafar Trust. India is the bastard child of Victorian prudery and Marxist Puritanism. London Suits and Morton Yard Summers. Professors Linda Gale Becker and Robin Wood, spouses, and in 2004 joint founders of the Desmond Tutu HIV Foundation. Our mission is the pursuit of excellence in research, training, treatment, and prevention of HIV and related diseases in Southern Africa. Life on the Water, under the command of Captain Tim Bliss. Nelson Mandela and his wife, Graca Machel, at the 2005 funeral of his son, Mac Gatho, who, like his wife Zondi, died of AIDS. This at a time when as many as 800 South Africans were dying of AIDS each day. Despite failing to address the AIDS crisis during his presidency, 1994 to 1999, following his son's death, Nelson Mandela became an active AIDS campaigner. Key West AIDS Memorial. Farewell to Key West. Support from AIDS-ARC has unquestionably spearheaded government-funded ARV access in South Africa. Dr. Jenny Pitt, now Zyneca, Desmond Tutu Research Foundation, 2005. The late François Xavier Banu, and an introduction to Countess Albina du Boisrouvray, his mother, and the charismatic founder of the charity FXB International. FXB, Ending Poverty, Restoring Dignity. United as Civil Partners, on the first day allowed by English law, 21st December 2005. The Times, Letters to the Editor. The milestone that is a civil partnership. Sir, yesterday my partner and I signed the civil register and became legally joined. This small event was, along with the other 600 or so civil partnerships entered into yesterday, an event of historic significance. The importance of yesterday's event was made painfully clear to me recently when my partner, Derek's brother, was rushed into intensive care and I was denied information on his condition on the ground that I was not a family member. He is now my brother-in-law. Had it been Derek and not his brother, I would have not been the official next of kin to my lover of 27 years. I grew to adulthood in a world where being gay was a criminal offence. Indeed, my friend, Lord Montague Bewley, served time in prison for something that is now officially recognised in law. Such has been the social change in the past 40 years. I would also like to pay tribute to the very many friends who have died from AIDS, and who could not be with us to share this moment of joy, but whose deaths have, in no small part, helped to focus attention on such a manifest injustice. It is sad that the Church has yet again set its face against moral and social change. Reactionary forces within the Church have always been against each major shift in thinking, from the condemnation of slavery and the acceptance of the theory of evolution, to the ordination of women priests, always having to recant at a later date. To remain relevant, the Church should be a moral leader, not a laggard. Finally, I would like to pay tribute not only to the campaigning work done on our behalf by Stonewall, but also to our Prime Minister and the government for having had the moral courage to promote this piece of legislation that is a milestone in the history of the granting of civil liberties to the people of this country. Jeremy Norman, London, SW1. AIDS ARC. Please help us fund this vital work. In 2003, when no ARVs were available to my Basotho people, AIDS ARC support allowed me, then a GP, to start our country's first ARV treatment program. Many who would have died are today not only alive, but productive and happy, and ARVs are freely available to all. AIDS ARC has truly been a pioneer of ARV treatment in the Kingdom of Lesotho, and for this I express my overwhelming gratitude. Dr. Mapu Ramatlapeng, Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Lesotho, May 2006. 2006. The first of many visits to Visakhapatnam, Andhra Pradesh State, India, to meet with the saintly Dr. Raju, his FXB team, and to learn about their work. Community-based HIV treatment initiative. FXB India Society, Visakhapatnam branch, and AIDS ARC. Meeting for the first time are FXB Vizag AIDS ARC beneficiaries, their spouses and children. Orphaned by AIDS, born HIV positive, his life saved by FXB and ARV drugs funded by AIDS ARC. Benjamin, our then youngest Vizag beneficiary, with his grandmother, Chandrama. No Makeup. Straight Tales from a Queer Life by Jeremy Norman. AIDS ARC's first field trip to Burma, late 2006. Kathy Shine, FXB Country Director. Raise a hand if you're HIV positive. The Shwedagon Pagoda, Yangon. Piety. Bagan, the ancient capital of Pagan in Burma. AIDS Awareness Event. Youth Smarter Than AIDS. Yangon, Burma. The Elton John AIDS Foundation's White Tie and Tiara Ball. 2007. AIDS ARC Lesotho beneficiary Keketso Serun Banyane attends Elton's ball. J at 60, 18-5-2007, and celebrating with the boys at Whithurst. The Garden at Needsor, Midsummer. Maggie Hambling's weekly life class at Morley College. We're all HIV positive, Jay tells FXB attendees. Then meeting up with our AIDS ARC FXB beneficiaries. Dr. Frank Smithhughes and his wife, Dr. Nini Tun, co-founders of Medical Action Myanmar, MAM, and their Tazin clinic on the outskirts of Yangon. AIDS ARC has donated to MAM's HIV-positive AIDS work since 2007. 2008. A puja to honour my mother following her recent death, and to launch EFFECT, the Elizabeth Frost Fellowship Community, a FXB India HIV positive self-help group. FXB AIDS ARC Friends in Andhra Pradesh, India. 2 men in a boat, chasing spring, UK. Still cruising north, side by side with the arrival of spring. On north to the Outer Hebrides, Scotland. Finally, way out into the Atlantic, St Kilda. Stone circles and prayer flags. Some of the pictures I made as we cruised north. Sheridan Dufferin died of AIDS in 1988. 20 years on, a party at Clandeboy to celebrate his life. Lindy, his beloved wife, stands in front of the portrait Jane knew so well, Sheridan serving as a page at QE2's 1953 coronation. David Primost accompanies me on AIDS ARC's first visit to Nepal. Sunil Pant, Nepali, and Asia's first out queer government minister. Blue Diamond Society doctors. Philip Holmes, whose work in Nepal we have supported since 1999. Old Kathmandu. Federation of Sexual and Gender Minorities presents Talent Contest 2008, Beauty and Brain in Action to Tackle HIV/AIDS. The start of our trek to Annapurna Base Camp. Tea house stops en route. The Great Himalayas. Finally, at 4130 meters, we arrive at Annapurna Base Camp. The mountain summit stands above us at 8190 meters. There is a roaring silence. Majesty is all around us. Some of the many new friends we meet during our 2008 AIDS ARC trip to Nepal and Burma. People Like Us works for the promotion, protection and advancement of gender-variant people and for their health and sexual rights. Agniva Lahiri, founder of PLUS, Kolkata. Calcutta Rescue, caring for the underprivileged. Founder, Dr. Jack Prager. CEO, Dr. Bobby. Meeting up with our AIDS ARC beneficiaries at their places of work, their homes, and at the FXB office in Kolkata. 2009. 5 of AIDS ARC's original 2003 Lesotho beneficiaries, healthy again and now expert patients assisting severely overstretched HIV/AIDS medical teams in the kingdom. HIV orphans. Give them love and care. Give them a future. Knowledge is power. Get tested and know your status. Much has been achieved since the birth of the Karabong Clinic, May 2003, established for the initial benefit of 8 of Dr. Mapu's patients, whose ARVs were funded by AIDS ARC. Around 5,400 HIV-positive patients now go there for treatment each month, and the clinic offers the best care available in Lesotho. KK Serobanyane, AIDS ARC Lesotho beneficiary, again healthy, together with Jay and the man of her dreams. Dr. Mapu Ramatlapeng, in 2009, Lesotho's Minister of Health and Social Welfare. AIDS ARC Lesotho beneficiary, Tabang, healthy and back to his teaching role, together with Jay and friend Maurits Kalf. Morton Yard, 2009, still home. 2010, emptied. Now no longer ours. Pictures I made during this period. Time for us to spend less time in London and more time elsewhere. 2010. Distressed by much of what I saw and learnt in Uganda. An introduction from Lord Montague of Bewley to the Kabaka of Buganda, and from Peter Tatchell to David Kato of Sexual Minorities Uganda, smug. And that's how I survived being killed. Testimonies of human rights abuses from Uganda's sexual and gender minorities. Uganda, where homosexuality is illegal and harshly persecuted, where most queer people feel forced to hide both their sexuality and identity, where Government Minister David Bahati and his numerous supporters propose punishing what they describe as aggravated homosexuality with a judicial sentence of death. The beauty of South Africa's Western Cape restores our spirits. Bapu Malele, caring for the community, founder Rosie Mashale. 2010. Bapu Malele's Hospice in the Home, a new funding project for AIDS ARC. Alaska. Venice. Malta. Thank you, Tom Bianchi. New homes with new views. Another view which still remains ours. Happy to be spending World AIDS Day 2010 together with our AIDS ARC FXB beneficiaries in Yangon, Burma. Benjamin and Chandramar, Vizag, 2010. Dr. Cynthia Maung fled her homeland in Burma in 1988. She founded the Mai Tau Clinic, MTC, in Mysot, Thailand, to provide critical healthcare, education and protection for the large number of refugees now seeking safety there. AIDS ARC visited the clinic in response to MTC's need for funds to purchase ARVs for their many HIV-positive patients. David Kato, 1964 to 2011. Murdered for being queer. Murdered for speaking out. Remember Kato, murdered for fighting Uganda's Kill the Gays bill. Demand justice. The Venerable Ashin Nyanisara Sitagu Sayadaw, my travelling companion from Bodh Gaya to Yangon. More time spent elsewhere. South Africa. The Okavango Delta, Botswana. Okavango Days. From Corfu to Venice, along the Illyrian shore, 2011. Pictures I made along the way, Illyria. Lending a helping hand at Nazareth House, Cape Town. AIDS ARC supports their work. SRN Lisette Robbins, now Oliver. Different days from the life of my friend Zandile, who dies at Nazareth House of AIDS in 2012. AIDS ARC start funding paediatric genotype blood resistance tests through Dr. Catherine Orrell, DT-HIV, at the Hammond Crusade Clinic. Proud that Crusade is still associated with HIV healthcare. Learning by copying. The natural world and the essential role it plays in our lives. AIDSARC have their first and only success in the Cupid business when, through our introduction, David Primost and Martin Franklin become a couple. In 2012, both agree to become AIDSARC trustees. David and Martin play an increasingly important role within AIDSARC. Antarctica. How small we feel in such a magnificent, untouched place. Soho gyms play an important role in raising funds for AIDSARC. Richard Hewitt, running the Marathon des Sables to raise money for AIDSARC. Dinner for One, and a few of the many who work to raise funds for AIDSARC. New and Old, Singapore, Vietnam, and Cambodia. Beth Kanji Goldring, founder, Brahma Vihara Cambodia AIDS Project, a new funding role for AIDSARC, 2014. 3 images by Bennett Stevens. A 2014 visit to the Mai Tao Clinic in Thailand, where AIDSARC now fund ARV medical care for a growing number of beneficiaries. With David Primost and AIDSARC volunteer Sarah Haddon Grant, a home visit to 2 of our MySOT beneficiaries. Medical Action Myanmar, where AIDSARC now fund care for more than 100 HIV-positive beneficiaries. With Dr. Nini Tan, MAM, Medical Action Myanmar, to visit AIDSARC beneficiaries living near Yangon. Police permission is required for us to travel to the Indo-Myanmar border at Moreh, Manipur State, India. Fearing the risk of kidnap, the Army keeps a close eye on our movements. 4 routes of HIV transmission. Use condom to protect yourself. Only one test saves 2 lives. I know my HIV status. Do you? The dilapidated state of the government hospital in Moreh. Meeting some of our Burmese beneficiaries at the FXB AIDSARC Moreh Clinic, operative since 2009. These ARV drugs are saving our lives. Happy to be back with our friends in Vizag, Andhra Pradesh, India, 2014. Without the help of FXB and AIDSARC, our parents would have died, and we would have become orphans with little chance of a good life. Benjamin, when we met in 2006. Born HIV positive to parents who both died of AIDS. Raised by his grandmother, Chandramar. FXB provided his medical care, and AIDSARC funded his ARV drugs from 2005. Dr. Raju, who then described Benjamin as his most deserving candidate when applying for AIDSARC funding. In 2014, Benjamin, a healthy young man. 2 of my South African landscapes from 2014. Delighted that so many young people choose to support AIDSARC's regular fundraising after parties. Great performers lend their generous support at AIDSARC fundraisers. Dr. Ashraf Grimwood, who continues to do so much to save HIV-positive lives across southern Africa, and his husband, Kim Bill, host an AIDSARC fundraiser at their Cape Town home. Semi-abstract landscapes I describe as scrapings, 2015. Namibia and the Himba people. The Garden at Needsor and its Turquoise Heart. Run by the Sisters of Nazareth. A new funding opportunity for AIDSARC in South Africa. AIDSARC fundraiser, Playboy Club, London. 2016. Jay and I resign as trustees of AIDSARC. David Primost and Martin Franklin take charge. Our transgender friend, Auntie Titi from Malawi, was sentenced to 7 years in jail with hard labour for daring to marry her male lover in a public ceremony. When freed, she found refuge in South Africa, where Mark Javisa, author of Across the World's Queer Frontiers and The Pink Line, introduced us. Dorian and friends at home. My darling Jay celebrates with dear friends, becoming 70 years old. 1805-2017. A profound exchange mid-ocean. Steven Pinker, Enlightenment Now. The Case for Reason, Science, Humanism and Progress. Enlightenment? Celebrating the sale of Soho gyms. Spectacular landscapes, Argentina and Chile. Andean Altiplano. People we met along the way. National AIDS Memorial Grove, Golden Gate Park, San Francisco, California. We must continue to work together as a nation to further our progress against this deadly epidemic. And while we do so, we must remember that every person who is living with HIV or AIDS is someone's son or daughter, brother or sister, parent or grandparent. They deserve our respect and they need our love. President Bill Clinton. April 2019. The Sultanate of Brunei enacts Islamic laws to punish gay sex with stoning to death. All Out and the Human Dignity Trust, fighting for LGBTIQ love, human rights and equality. 2021. There are 71 jurisdictions around the world that still criminalize private, same-sex, consensual sexual activity. Outright Action International. Human rights for LGBTIQ people everywhere. The 50th anniversary of the 1969 Stonewall riots. World Pride, New York City, 2019. Two of the wonderful gay families that we know and love. War in the Blood, Sex, Politics and AIDS in Southeast Asia. Past President of the International AIDS Society, epidemiologist, author, AIDS widow and friend, Professor Chris Behrer describes Jay and I as secular seekers and gay brothers. Nick Walsh, with his keen intelligence, sparkling creativity and dancing wit, makes the memory of his much-loved older brother Connell, who died from AIDS in 1995, so present for us. AIDSARC, please continue your essential work helping to save HIV-positive lives. Worldwide, approximately 700,000 people died of AIDS in 2019. On such mornings, there is a great roar as the wind speaks. Remember Bob Dylan's song from 1963. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The beauty that surrounds us. A love letter. Photo, courtesy Tom Bianchi. A prayer. Photo, Getty Images. Our precious planet home. Om Mani Padme Hum. Living and Loving in the Age of AIDS. A memoir by Derek Frost. Available in all formats. Watkins Publishing, London 2021. All revenue due to the author will be donated to AIDS charities.